The components of an IQA plan. So what goes into an IQA plan? As we are now discussing the specific components of an IQA plan, let's just revisit the definition of planning that we looked at in the previous film just to give us some context. As we said, general business planning is a plan to achieve optimum balance of needs or demands with available resources. And further, we also said that the planning process identifies the goals or objectives to be achieved, formulates strategies to achieve them, arranges and/or creates the means required, and implements and directs and monitors all steps in their proper sequence. As we will see as we go through these components, that all these different parts just mentioned in this definition will appear in some way within our IQA plan. Therefore, what we're saying is planning is a proactive view of the what that needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and who needs to do it. It may also detail other resources needed. Once the goals and objectives of the plan are clear, then the specific activities that need to be done to achieve the plan can be planned in. In order to ensure this happens, the plan will contain a certain number of key parts, which we're now going to go through. So the first key part is understanding the different areas of risk. So the areas of risk that includes the different assessors, qualifications, learners, venues that are being used for assessment and so on. The plan needs to identify those areas of risks. Once that has happened, we need then to match those areas of risks identified with the activities that need to be done by the IQA. For example, a new assessor assessing a new qualification represents a relatively higher risk, and this might mean observations, sampling, say at 70%, learner interviews and so on. An experienced qualified assessor who has been in the organisation for 3 years may represent a lower risk, but the sampling may still be needed at some level, even if it is 10 to 20%, for example. Either way, resources and activities need to be allocated in response to the levels of risk that have been identified. This forms part of the point that I've just made. However, if you as an IQA manage a team of 8 new assessors, for example, and they have little experience, this means you are likely going to be busier than, say, your colleague who has a team of 12 assessors, but they are highly experienced, long-serving members of staff, and therefore the resources within the plan need to be allocated appropriately. So how much of any activity do you want to see? Well, typically it's 50% for less experienced assessors, which may then go down to 10% for more experienced assessors. This level will be set in the context of your activities, the qualifications you run, the organisation you work in and so on, and also to the context of the requirements of your external awarding organisation and so on. You need to sample the different ways and methods assessors are making their judgments, i.e. direct observations, discussions, verbal questions, written questions, work product, assignments and projects and so on. Assessors can also vary in their preference and ability and may be better at some assessment methods than others, which may highlight a need for support and development with that assessor. Dates of activities need to be included, and you may include spaces for both planned and actual just in case they do slightly differ. Activities need to cover different stages of the programs. To that end, you want to make sure that you are covering early, middle and end parts of the programs. Course start and end dates. This of course ensures that the IQA plan dates takes into account when the program starts, how long the program lasts for, and when learners are likely to finish. The plan will need to show the qualification name level and so on. Having this in the plans ensures that the right planning goes against the correct qualifications also reflecting the risk of those particular qualifications, and also that the right qualification specification is used when judging the activities against that qualification. The IQA plan can also show any particular areas of focus. It can be useful to ask assessors if they have any particular areas they would like your support and focus on, or to highlight any learners or groups that they think could benefit from IQA support. You may also have particular areas of focus as a result of previous IQA activity that have shown shortfalls in activity and or quality of assessment processes. Here are some examples of IQA planning documents. Straight away in this document, you can see how much of the information we have been discussing is in here. This is the first half of a two-part sample planning document. Again, note all of the information to be included, plus here we have the IQA's rationale behind the level of sampling they are intending to do. The second part of this form has plenty of space for feedback and other spaces for authentication and audit or trail of the paperwork, including the dates of the activities and where they were completed. This is an interesting document. This is an example of how you might go about assessing the risks of your assessors and therefore creating your rationale and percentage of sampling. This approach grades the assessor based on a number of different risk factors. Depending on the severity of the risk determines the scores. The higher the score, the higher the risk. At the bottom you can see what the different scores mean in terms of levels of IQA activities and sampling. So to review, here are all the main components of your IQA plan. And as we have said, this includes the actual areas of risks that you face with as an IQA, whether that's your assessors or the new qualifications or different venues for assessment, that you've got your IQA activities and that the activities that you are planning match your areas of risk and your assessor experience. That out of that planning you then work out your rationale for your percentage of activities or your levels of activities. That you cover both mid, early and end, different aspects of your qualifications and courses. That the plans include qualifications names, that they include start and end dates, dates of your activity, and also that they pick up any particular areas of focus that are needed as a result of either requests from assessors or out of previous IQA activity.